In this video, you'll learn about the 6 things that you should know about Florida workers' compensation law. If this is your first time to my channel, my name is Domenic Celeste, the virtual accident attorney. I'm based in Palm Beach County, Florida, and I represent those injured on the job in workers' compensation and due to the fault of another in personal injury. This channel is all about answering your questions and giving you tips relating to Florida workers' compensation and personal injury law. Now before we get into the video, I have to show you this disclaimer, so just hold tight. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. The first thing that you should know is that in order to be covered by workers' comp, your injury or your condition must have had occurred by accident and arose out of and within the course and scope of your employment. So what does this mean? Basically, you have to have gotten hurt while doing what you would normally do as part of your job. Now there are a lot of exceptions to this and other instances where you get hurt not doing exactly what you normally would do. I'm not going to go over all of those in this video, but probably one of the most common ones is that you're doing an errand for your employer. Now an injury can include many different things. It could be a new injury, it can be a temporary or permanent injury, or it can even be an exacerbation or aggravation of a prior injury. And an accident, likewise, can be something that just happens one time, like in a slip and fall or motor vehicle accident, or it can include something that happens over time, like in a repetitive trauma accident, or it can even include an exposure to something like mold or chemicals. Now the second thing that you should know is when you get hurt on the job and start a workers' compensation case, you're not actually suing your employer. Rather, when you get hurt on the job, your workers' compensation insurance kicks in, and so does the Florida workers' comp statute. And what you're doing basically is that you're petitioning for benefits that fall under that workers' compensation statute. Now don't get me wrong, there may be, in very rare circumstances, instances where you might be able to sue your employer, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. And the third thing that you should know is that there's only 2 types of benefits that you can get in a Florida workers' compensation case. And those 2 benefits are medical care and lost wages. There's no pain and suffering, loss of enjoyment of life, punitive damages, or other types of damages that you might see in a personal injury case. You just have medical care and lost wages. That's it. Now speaking of benefits, the 4th thing that you should know is that in Florida, you don't actually get to pick your workers' comp doctor. Rather, that's the exclusive right of the workers' compensation insurance company. And in fact, you don't even get to pick your one-time change in doctor, because that's also workers' comp's right. Now there are some instances where you might be able to pick your one-time change, but I'll get into that in another video. So again, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Now luckily for you, even though you don't get to pick your doctor, it's workers' comp's responsibility to pay for all your medical care. And the only instance when you would have to pay part of your medical care is when you're released to max medical improvement and you present back to your work comp doctor. In that instance, you would have to pay a $10 copay for the appointment. The 5th thing that you should know about Florida workers' compensation law is that when you're out of work or you're put on restrictions by your doctor and you're not working, you're not actually paid your full wage. Rather, you're only paid a percentage of your wage. And that percentage, which is called your compensation rate, is based and calculated off of your average weekly wage as calculated in the 13 weeks prior to your accident. Now there's a couple different percentages that you might get paid, and that's based on what classification of disability that you have. And those classifications of benefits can either be temporary or permanent, total or partial, and can even include the impairment rating that your doctor might have assigned to you. Now the 6th and last thing that you should know is that not all employers are required to have workers' compensation coverage. Generally, if your employer has 4 or more employees, it's required to have coverage. But things are different if your employer is part of the construction industry or agricultural industry. If your employer is part of the construction industry, it actually only needs 1 or more employees to be required to have coverage. But if your employer is part of the agricultural industry, then it has to have 6 or more employees or 12 or more seasonal employees to be required to have coverage. So as you can see, Florida workers' compensation law is really complex. This video has only scratched the surface of that complexity. But I hope after watching this video you learned a little bit more about Florida workers' comp and what makes it so unique. Remember, you can't do this alone. You need to hire an attorney that's licensed to practice law in Florida and that handles workers' compensation cases, represents real clients, goes to court, reads case law, that knows what they're doing. And if you or someone you know were injured on the job or due to the fault of another, give me a call. I have a 24/7, 365 receptionist, or you can go to my website and schedule a free consultation, or you know what, just text me. 561-935-3822. But that's it for this video. If you got value out of it or if you learned something, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps me out. If you enjoyed this video or you have any questions, hit the comment section below. If you want to learn more about me, about my firm, about Florida workers' compensation and personal injury law, or how to contact me, go to my website, virtualaccidentattorney.com. But that's it for now. Again, I'm Domenic Celeste, the virtual accident attorney, and I'll see you in the next video.